another question I have is, and you kind of touched on this earlier, but your podcast, Rebel Ever After, is specifically looking at progressive romance. And I was curious, do you have a sense? Does romance lend itself to progressive stories more than other genres in commercial fiction? Or you've just read so much romance, it's your passion place that that's where you decided to focus?
I think it's a little bit of both. My partner is a big horror fan and writer, and so I've learned a lot in the last few years about how horror can also be very political. And horror and romance are kind of twin genres in a way of there's a crisis or a challenge, and it often reflects some type of like social or cultural anxiety. And in horror, the ending is often darker and less resolved, whereas in a romance, you have that soft space to land of the happily ever after. And that's what allows you to feel all those feelings of anxiety and confusion because you know it'll be okay. So I do think romance is a unique genre, but it's not the only genre. I could have, in a different universe, done a horror ever after podcast. I don't know. But I think, like, because romance is so focused on what does it mean to be a successful adult? What does it mean to build a life that is satisfying and complete? So much of those ideas are wrapped up in what we as a society decide success looks like, or adulthood looks like, or family looks like. And so I think that romance is a very rife political ground to talk about that and to visualize what that looks like. And so for me, when I started the podcast, I was kind of grappling with the question of like, well, how do you write a happily ever after that isn't a proposal or kids or buying a house together? What can a happily ever after look like that includes more people? And that overlaps so much with what's going on politically right now in terms of who has access to marriage, who has access to citizenship, who has access to financial security and buying a house. And so for me, I don't think romance is automatically progressive. I think that there's a whole gamut of romance novels out there and what the happily ever after can look like, and particularly what type of heroes and heroines we're writing and what type of relationship dynamics we're including on the page. But I think that it's a really wonderful place to change people's minds and expand our ideas of what does it look like to be happy and loved and who deserves to be happy and loved. So for me, I like to write about depressed, possibly autistic millennials who are broke and still deserve love. And the authors who I've spoken to in some way or another challenge what we expect happily ever after to be. Maybe it's polyamorous, maybe it's I don't want children and neither do you, and we're going to start a business. Like, it's really exciting to me. It makes me feel hopeful at a time when that's kind of hard.
Absolutely. I've listened to several episodes of your podcast. I love it. I love the conversations you have. And I think it's an important topic for us to keep in mind as we are writing, and for readers to keep in mind as they encounter stories that might be different from the romances that they've read before.
Yeah. And I like my intention isn't to shame folks who are reading or enjoy things that may not be like politically correct. Like I've read some weird stuff and there are some things that work for me and I don't know why. But I try to think of my podcast as an opportunity to like elevate books that may not get the marketing support or the TikTok algorithm boost that other books get. Whether that's because the authors are people of color or queer or trans, or the book is just doing something super weird. And I have a really special place in my heart for historicals because I think historicals show that there have always been people living differently and fighting for a broader spectrum of living your life and playing with gender and playing with class and all of those things. So yeah, I nerded out listening to some episodes of your show yesterday. I was like, yes, there were women joining the army in order to live as their true selves and find class mobility and all these things. Like, it's just so much fun to me. It gets my nerd brain going.
I'm so glad because I feel that way too.